All right. Well, good evening. You got like all the fun stuff of me getting set up, and I guess that means I'm actually looking at YouTube right now to understand how long the delay is, and I guess it's not that long. Quite a bit, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to get this lag thing figured out because last time I did this, let me turn that off too. Last time I did this, also, do I have my headphones on? I do. Sorry, it's already 9 o'clock in the evening here. So, but yeah, last time I did this for the music, and there was the streaming thing like that. I think the audio cut off, or the video cut off just a bit before I did. Anyway, long story short, we have kind of a short week this week. There are only 15 albums, which is still a lot. And I do want to clarify that there are no electronic albums this week. And the reason for that is because they are all on Bandcamp. And I'm trying to figure out a workaround for this. So I'm just shifting them over to next week. So God help me, next week could be enormous depending on what other albums come this way. But I'm not using a VPN right now. I'm using another way of getting around the YouTube block. And for whatever reason, that system does not open Bandcamp websites. So I'm either going to have to look into an alternative, maybe see if there's a workaround for that workaround. The reason I don't want to use a VPN while streaming is because, especially with the music end of things, we've witnessed this in the past where if the VPN is on and I try to play a track, it can take like a few seconds for the track to get loading, and I don't really like that. So there is no electronic music this week. I had 3 queued up, ready to go, with reviews, or my thoughts, I should say, and they're just going to be put on hold. So for the most part, nothing life-changing. So, if you don't get it until next week or the week after, it'll be all right. That does leave us, though, as I said, with 15 albums. We're going to start with rap and hip-hop, of which there are only 2. And then pop and indie is going to be the middle section, and we are going to end with rock and metal. Although it's not going to be as brutal, perhaps, as it could be in some senses. So kind of a moderate week in some sense of that word. But all right, I am going to click over on my sources here. So let me get this going. Heyo. All right. And I'm going to get us just right into the first album. And this is Мне так нравится выживать. And the artist is СУПЕРПАНКК, punk with 2 Ks, because that's how punk he is. This is an artist out of, I believe, Nizhny Novgorod. Independent hip hop. Got a bit of the punk attitude with it too. There's not too much to say. You'll get it when you hear it. I'm not going to spend too much time going into that here. So let's just jump into some of the tracks. I'm going to have some juice.
Снова вместе, как листья рассыпаются. Я уже устал, блядь, доживать до пятницы. Как у меня дела, да какая разница? Ведь мне больше не нужны друзья. Но черная, чернила каракатица. Душу наизнанку, и снова тратится. Все мои это математика, придуманная кое-как. Еще раз происходит, это пряник или кнут. Эта жизнь, она уже немного самосуд. Вспоминаю твои губы, выдыхаю самосад. Прямо стою у подъезда, рядом бывший депутат. Да, я помню тоже, как мы все косились на верандах.
I'm just gonna jump around, get a bit of a taste. В черном Adidas is a pretty fantastic name for a track here in Russia.
Просто подстригись,
The guitars, like, it's definitely going, I guess that's what I'm talking about with the punk energy. Not quite rap rock, but there are moments. This feels quite like it.
Хочешь поставить на все мысли повести.
So musically, obviously, there's it leans more in the rock direction.
Будто еду на маршрутке в неизвестность. Когда мы всегда едем, будем жить лишь в одноместных.
And even though this is somewhat singing, I do feel this is still lyrically in the rap category. So yeah, that's the «Мне так нравится выживать» album by СУПЕРПАНКК, an artist out of Nizhny. And yeah, just a short little one there to get us started. I said there were only 2 albums in the rap and hip-hop category, and so this, I guess, would be the top pick. This is ИГНОР, and the artist is Чёрная, экономика. These guys are something of a consistent, a stable feature of the Russian rap underground here. And, I mean, you hear that right away. If you've never heard these guys before, then you can, upon hearing them, almost immediately understand that, like, yeah, these guys are underground. And they've been doing it for a long time now, something like 15 years or something like that. It's the type of music that feels like it's for, like, the true hip-hop heads. The lyrics focus on storytelling, right? Like, just the classic, the life on the streets, dealing, hustling, all that fun stuff. They don't go too heavy into the chorus thing. It's just verse after verse after verse. And you can see they have a lot of guests on here. If you're familiar with the Russian rap scene too, Boulevard Depot, Teeth, Bruto. Loved Bruto's album from earlier this year, so I'm glad to see him here, and that's actually what we're going to start with. This is an album that comes together. It's a nice, solid rap album here this week, so just jump into it also.
Мы связали свои жизни с этим. Мы связали свои жизни в сети. Пускай со мной те, кто возглавляют рейтинг, все же в душе остались пиздюками и по сей день. Никак не выкинуть строки из нашей книги. Пока брат проводит контур, я за ним делаю блики. Зная мой облезный голос, это твой давнишний триггер. Да. Там, где подъезды, где барыги, там, где грязь, где кидали, где катались, где скитались. Эхо из другой эпохи, позабытые детали, где мутили, принимали.
На нашу пирамиду, пацаны без обиды, но больше не хочу я шастать по подъездам убитым, просыпаться на хатах, где-то богом забытых, и просто должен понять.
Лед всегда хрупок, люди в камуфляже и
ходят по трупам.
Твоя дама сердце до тебя шлялась по клубам. Продалась недорого, Люба. Даю зуб, что мой текст не будет беззубым. На выход с вещами в самый дубак. И пусть мы вещаем грубо.
Jump into the one with Boulevard Deep. Has such like a late 90s, early 2000s NOS type of sound. So I believe this one has more of a chorus though. So but it's got like that heavy, almost New York sound, East Coast.
Если оно тебе не надо даром, я зачитаю санитаром, но тем, кто все же солидарен, чистосердечно благодарен. С битов навалят старые, с когтями котяра. Пока ты не шарил, мы вращали шарик на хую. Мы не из тех, кто урвали дешевый хайп, протухший в богатом футляре. Да потребало, но совесть не заморали. Я виден, как стирали, забираясь по спирали. Я виден, как взлетали те, кто писались в подвале. Я виден, тех, кто варит.
Любит втыкаться с прогиба, не передушить, не перестрелять наших. Не рисуем миражи, кружим виражи. Даже если город уже спит, номер уже слит. Город зоопарк, но тут свобода профицит. Основной инстинкт.
I mean, like, you can kind of just jump into pretty much any track and you're gonna get this atmosphere, right? It's dark and it's heavy, very serious. But I will say too, right, 17 tracks, even though none of them are super long, it is still, like, this is a full-fledged release. And I would say, as opposed to some of the other rap and hip-hop long releases that we've seen this year, especially in the first quarter, this is one that doesn't get old Like, there's enough variety in the beats, there's enough variety in the vocal deliverance that it can keep you engaged throughout. And that might just have to do with the fact, too, that, again, especially if you can follow along and kind of pick up what they're rapping about, it's not a story, but, like, there's enough going on in the songs to... It's not just the same dumb stuff over and over again. You get, like, vignettes of life in the streets. But I guess that's the whole idea to some degree of rap and hip-hop, at least old school underground style. But yeah, that's it. So ИГНОR is the album, Чёрная, экономика is the group, and that does it for rap and hip-hop this week. So we're just going to go right on into pop and indie. And the first one we have is «Эту весну нам вместе не встретить». Well, we won't be meeting this spring together. The artist is Maria Kohn. Just a small EP here. We have 4 indie pop songs. Trace the end of a toxic relationship and then getting over that relationship and learning to enjoy life and love again. Concept aside, this is just, we got 4 tracks that are quite musically varied, but honestly, they're all pretty catchy. So I'm just going to quick bop through.
Я больше не краснею от твоего взгляда. Таешь легко, как снег под солнцем, и быстрее, чем надо. Лучше быть не может, чем как получилось. Гуще жизнь, чем в моих ресницах, да тебе не снилось. А человека нет, и нет, и не было человека.
And then the second one here. Got the, what was the name of the... Oh God, I can't think of... I can't think of the artist. It's like a Ukrainian, Russian female pop act. The piano really reminds me of it. I almost remember it, but... It's kind of light, kind of catchy. Just the third track, though, right? Tonally quite different. Still upbeat, but it's doing its own thing. It's even got the auto-tune. So yeah, as I said, 4 tracks, but they do play around a bit. They're not all really of the same sound, but they are indie pop, and it's a nice little EP if you're looking for something just short and sweet. So yeah, again, Maria Kohn is the artist, and the EP is «Эту весну нам вместе не встретить». Moving along, Буги-Уги, and the name of the album is Брат, Брут. Now, this is an odd one. This is a one-man band really going for the funny, quirky, clever thing in the lyrics and in the song. The energy, like especially when he's singing, you hear it like the way he expresses himself. And like that's fine. It wears a little bit, but the music that accompanies all of that just has a lot of sides and odd little sounds. The tonal shifts in songs are sometimes unexpected, or just it'll go from one set of instrumentation to another. So even if that frantic frontman energy gets to be a bit too much, it's still an album that you can just sort of sit back and I don't want to say like ignore the lyrics. Obviously, like that's not the greatest thing to say, but musically, just that constantly shifting background track. It's fun. It will keep you listening, and it will keep you engaged. The music does at times too feel like it's about to come apart. And it does sometimes feel like he's making it all up as he goes along, which he might. It could also be very, very improvised. So this was an album I was a little bit on the fence about, to be completely honest here. But I decided to include it, A, because I love the artwork. I can't, like, it's such, like, I don't know. I know, like, the whole judging a book by its cover, but there's something just nice about this. And that, and like I said, there are some really good and fun tracks on here. And I'm going to kind of, like, highlight some of that, too. Especially the first track is definitely up there. Like the theatrical elements to the singing is there. But it's fun, right?
Ничего нового, не обязательно признак чего-то здорового.
Like, honestly, this part too feels like it could have been out of a car commercial in the mid-2000s. So, but let's just jump around to some other sounds. I know I've mentioned the show is the Rainbow before, like super underground reference out of, I believe, Omaha. Again, early 2000s. Or probably mid-2000s also, but there's a lot of shows the Rainbow energy here. Just jump. Or like the funk guitar here kind of fits, but it's also just an odd thing to slap right there. All right, I'm just gonna, again, like I said, jump around. Something a little bit slower, or a little bit in your face right out the gates. I should say the energy is pretty consistent throughout, with the exception of the 8th track. It just gallops the whole time. But again, that just might be that sort of like one-man band, like.
Поймать журавля, если не заметили критики. Убийства могут похоронить одной фразой, как Харитона капиталиста. И я потратил всю свою душу и выдал самое лучшее блюдо, чтобы в него наплевали.
So you get the idea. You heard 4 different tracks out of 10. And again, like I said, with the exception of the 8th one, Maya, they've all got that kind of drive and energy to them. I think you heard what I was talking about with the singing. It's fine. It's actually coming back to it again this evening. It's not as maybe grating as it was the first time. Not that that's a ringing endorsement by any sense, but yeah, it's not a bad album. So this is Bugi-Ugi, and I believe this is the debut album from the artist as well, although I might be wrong by that, so don't quote me. It might not be. I don't think it is, actually, coming to think about it. But yeah, Brut is the name of the album, and the artist is Bugi-Ugi. Again, links to all of the albums are in the description, so just, check it out. All right, now the next one here is an interesting one, and I don't want to get bogged down in this too much, but we'll get to it when we get to it. So the album is by the artist Janea, and the short album, almost an EP, if you will, is Janea May Cry. It is dark electro chamber pop, is how I'm going to describe it. I'm just going to play a little bit of the music now, and then I'm going to talk about the problem it's not the problem I have with the album, it's the problem that I saw when I was looking into the album. So, and I think it's worth noting that Janea here is an artist who is involved in some other groups, and she's also worked, I guess, fairly extensively with MooJuice, who, if you're not familiar, MooJuice is like a really big kind of pop electronic musician, kind of a big name in the Russian music scene. He's actually featured on the 5th track. So I'm just going to play some of the music first, give you an idea of what it sounds like, and then we're going to talk a little bit. While I can't say this is necessarily new, like I feel like I've heard stuff like this before, it's definitely good. And her voice is quite refreshing, I would say. It's quite different. This is right when I mentioned chamber pop earlier, this that Baroque aspect. So let's just jump into Homecoming, I think. Leave that down. It's a good album. It's a very good album. And I think I'm pretty correct on this one. This is nice. It's beautiful. I'm pretty sure this is her solo debut. That's what I'm going to say. And the track with MooJuice. The electronics kind of lurking in the background are quite, I don't want to say a calling card of MooJuice, but so you get the sound, right? Like it's a good sound. It's not wholly unique. There are other artists who do similar things to it, but it is doing its own thing, and it's good. I really enjoyed this. I listened to this a few times. Part of the reason I listened to it a few times is because, and this is what we're gonna write. This is Janea, right? She's black, and she's Russian, and that's kind of an unusual combination. It is, like, let's just deal with it. But what I saw come up again and again in about 50%, maybe 75% of the articles and little blurbs that I saw written about this album was that it was described as, instead of it being like I said, dark electro chamber pop, instead of them even mentioning a heavy trip hop sound, I saw the word ethnic get used again and again and again. And you all just heard the same 4 tracks that I heard. There is absolutely fucking nothing in those tracks that would even be remotely considered ethnic, right? There just isn't. The only thing, the closest thing I can, is on this 4th track, Game. which has, I would say, a bit of a maybe Cuban flair to it, right? You can hear it in the guitar here. Bum, 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 bum. Right? Like, or flamenco, I don't know exactly, but this is the only track that you could even remotely describe as ethnic. But she's not from that part of the world. So, the album is great. I love it. I think it's great. I think everyone should listen to it. I think Janea has done a really good thing, and I'm excited to see what she comes from here. The reason I'm bringing this topic up is because I see with some regularity this sort of whole like, well, Russians aren't racist. And like, that is fine, I guess. That's good. But like, you can't, like, that is kind of racism to be like, oh, it's a black person, so that music is ethnic. That's not what that word means. Like, and I don't want to get into a discussion of race here. That's not what I'm doing. But like, you kind of see the problem here. So I just wanted to bring that up because it is a thing. And if it had been once or twice, and it had been like maybe somebody just copy pasted the same text, but it wasn't. It was the same word coming up again and again. And that feels, again, problematic. I'm not here to like police the Russian language, obviously. And I'm sure if I had a wider audience, I'd have people like all up in the comments section saying how like I'm an idiot and I don't understand the Russian language. Idите nahuy, I guess. But like, yeah, that's kind of a problem. And it's like I said, it's something that the YouTube algorithm throws at me regularly. It's something I've seen other people do like commentary on, even other Black Russians do commentary on. And it's always interesting to see the reactions to those types of things. So I had to bring it up because it was something that I saw again and again and again while looking into this release. And that's just the nature. The release itself, like I said, great stuff. It is definitely worth a listen. And as I just said a few minutes ago, I am really looking forward to whatever Janea puts out from here on out. But yeah, dark, electro, chamber pop, trip hop, heavy influence, nothing ethnic, nothing at all. This is her music, and she's Russian, so that's what it is. Moving along, though, we come to Pompeya. Now, Pompeya is kind of a popular group here, and they actually, I think, are somewhat known outside of Russia. Their songs are all in English, so that helps quite a bit. Yeah, this is the Awesome EP by Pompeya. It is the 80s soft pop rock sound, just good vibes, dance energy. I don't know, is the sound getting worn out yet? I don't think it is. I think it's, I don't know how long people have been rediscovering it, but I do feel like it's still going strong, which is fine. And you know, if people want to keep making music that sounds like this, and what I mean by this music, if I didn't know, but like if you put this music on and just started playing it, and you told somebody that this is some lost gem from the 1980s in 2025, right? Like, people would believe it because it sounds like something out of the 1980s. I'm sure people will disagree with me, but again, as somebody who has just the briefest of memories of the 80s, it feels right to me. Also, I do want to point out, I'm going to play the first two tracks for you. I swear to God, the rhythm line, like the bass rhythm section, is doing the exact same thing on the first two tracks. So let me know if I'm completely insane or if that is what I'm hearing. So let's just jump into it. So this is Awesome by Pompeya. does feel good, this music. All right, rhythm section. Remember, pay attention. It's the same bass line, right? I'm not insane. Like maybe they changed a note. Every time, and it's like they're both 3 minutes 45 seconds long. I don't know, but like it's good. I like it, but I swear to God, it's like the same song, just slightly different. But not all of the bass lines are exactly the same. Just the way the singing is done too. That's like this. I don't know the group, but I swear to God, I've heard like an 80s song that sounds almost exactly like this, or many different 80s songs all put together that sound like that. So anyway, it's great. It's fun. It's 5 tracks. It's kind of music. It's got that fresh mango-y feel. I mean, I get the it's not clip art, but the word graphic here feels a little bit more like the 1990s, but that's okay. We'll give them a pass for that. Awesome is the EP, and awesome it is. The group is Pompeya. So moving on, we have Basic Boy with the album Nikto, Nigde. Now, this album came to it popped up on my radar thanks to rap circles, actually, because evidently the artist's connections and maybe even his music in the past was connected to rap and hip hop. In fact, I think it's 2 years ago at this point in time, I was absolutely gushing over Saluki and his Wild East album, and Basic Boy has some connection to Saluki. So this is not a rap album, obviously, because it's not the rap section anymore, in the Indian pop section. This is a pop album, 100%. And it's a very good one at that, in my opinion. We got a young artist from Ufa, and this album is him, I guess, in the wake of his last output not performing as well. It's just him kind of vocalizing his anxieties and his worries about life, and wondering about the need for his art, right? But I will say, for music of this caliber, it's got great production, catchy hooks, really solid singing also. I do hope that Basic Boy is going to get some of the recognition that I think he might be needing, and I do hope that he continues to put out work like this, because it is really good. So I'm going to jump around and give us a listen. It's pop with a hip-hop edge, to be fair, but
Небо нас не выдавит сегодня. Окропила землю ртутью, я как маленький ребенок. Я побитая стекляшка, вся пропитанная болью. Подбери меня, родители, скажи, что ты доволен бы мной. Скажи, что ты доволен, и скажи, что ты доволен бы мной.
Like that. I don't know, that drum beat just me screams like pop rock. Jump into it. I mean, I understand how you could try to pass this off as rap music, but this is pop, let's be real. got teeth in here, doing a little bit of the rapping. Got a track with Thomas Mraz. We talked about him, I think, at the end of March. He had a little funky EP. You kind of hear that in this track as well. Bop, bop, bada, bop. Like, yeah, that's... We are deep in pop territory there. And then one last sample here. Домой.
Самолеты, поезда, я сталкиваюсь с небом, поглощает синего, и в обнимку снова серой землей. Я больше не знаю, просто пусти на порог. Они обещали дождь, но завалило снегом. Где тут правда, где тут ложь, пепел следует за ветром, идем со мной, покажу, как сбежать. Они обещали дождь, но завалило снегом. Где тут правда, где тут ложь, пепел следует за ветром, идем со мной, покажу, как сбежать.
So yeah, that is Никто, нигде, and the artist is Basic Boy. And that brings us to the final album in the pop and indie category. And I almost put the pop and indie category as the main one. I almost put this as the top pick of the week, but not quite. Although it was very, very close. So this is the group Diktofon, and the album is Макаров, Хостел. Now, let's just get this out of the way at the beginning. Album is going to feel, it does, in my opinion, feel a lot like Дайте Танк's recent release, Хрупко, both in terms of sound, has a lot in common with that in some senses, and in terms of length. We got 23 tracks on this album. 23 tracks, over an hour long. In 2025, like, what the fuck? Like, I think this is the longest album I've seen this entire year. I'm literally blown away. That's obviously a good thing, right? The comparison to Дайте Танк, because Хрупко is one of the best, at least pop and indie albums that came out in the first 3 months of this year. And I think that is going to be an album that has staying power. And I think Макаров, Хостел is right of that same caliber. So let's talk about what makes this different from the other one. The sound here is very much a throwback, right? Even though the main guy behind the group is younger than me. It's a throwback to the rock sound that would be a bit more familiar to my parents' generation. The title, even, Макаров, Хостел, is kind of a nod to Morrison Hotel by The Doors, right? But there are other more modern influences here, specifically the Arctic Monkeys. I feel the Arctic Monkeys, and yeah, all throughout this whole thing. And it's probably the best way to describe this. It's a dose of the late 60s, early 70s sound, selectively put together by just the sounds and songs that have stood the test of time and that have been given to us later generations through Hollywood and parents and elsewhere. All of that filtered through this prism of the indie garage rock of like Arctic Monkeys and even the Strokes to some degree of the early 2000s. The album here has a story, evidently. It's going for that rock opera feel. It follows the misadventures of a Soviet con man and a Lothario, so a bit of a picaresque story, if you will. As I was listening, I pieced together bits and pieces of what was going on. I think it's him, like, stopping that lifestyle and falling in love, one of those types of situation. Regardless, that's really not the I was just like so hooked on the music. I was just like going with the music and having a good, like, I would focus in on the lyrics from time to time, but the music was just so good. I just kept getting lost in it. I'm sure as I come back to this album on future listens, which is definitely going to be the case, that I'll start to pick up more of those details and the picture will become more clear, but it's not super important. Makarov Hostel is the type of hostel that you don't want to check out of. And honestly, if there were some Eagle influences in this album, I could make a joke about you can check out anytime you like, but there's no Eagle influence. So I'm not going to make that reference. So let's just get into the album, and you'll hear what I'm talking about. So this has a bit of the Daititang, a bit of their vibe from a month or two ago.
Я часто сижу и грущу, я умею плакать без слез. Я делаю пустые глаза и на каждый вопрос отвечаю сам. Но утром по пути в киоск я часто хочу, чего нет. Меня научила мечта.
This is the song that I like. It was when I was just like, oh, okay, we got something cooking here. This is the one that was just like, oh, Arctic Monkeys also.
В ночи все следы заметаются, горят фонари, проносятся москвичи позади. Держу на цепи, тебе нравится, спокоен и тих, вот и ты не кричи, ночи. Черный вход для лакеев, как я дуралеев, смелее, милая моя, поют клетки розелы, бокал из... Эти шлепанцы для прогулок, твои
Got a bit more of the
губы
older sound here.
повешу в рамку твой окурок и дома ночью полюбуюсь, не жалея своих шлепок, мимо сталинских высоток, приватизированных соток, иду по городу вслепую, вечер, пробки. Шапка бини.
You can hear a bit of the Doors here too with the electric organ. Not super similar, but enough. But songs are more often than not kind of a little bit faster, a little bit more upbeat. Got the Western vibe here.
Иероглифы, дело тонкое, под рваной кожурой знойная приманка. Покажи язык, покажи еще, под звуки музыки классического. Золотая лихорадка, обуреваемая бесом азиатка, кусает уголки причудливого рта. Каждой женщине должна быть тайна и загадка. И все во мне то
Kind of the big emotional finish. You know, it's technically not the finish, but you know.
Стоять здесь снова большим оркестром.
one last one. We got a little bit of maybe early Iggy Pop, Iggy Pop punk energy in there. This song is kind of also about eating your dog, so.
Ведь я же лучше собаки. Ведь я же лучше собаки. Ведь я же лучше собаки. Ведь я же лучше собаки.
So yeah, and honestly, 23 tracks, over an hour long. I don't want to say there aren't any. I mean, like there are a few interludes throughout. Like by few, I mean like 2 or 3. But it's pretty solid all the way through. I don't really have any major complaints with this. I think this is for how much is here and how long it is, again, which is a bold thing in 2025. Makar Hostel is a phenomenal album, and I didn't quite know what I was getting into when I sat down, but I'm glad I didn't skip over this one. So the group is Diktofon, to give it a more Ruski edge, and the album again is Makar Hostel. So as you can see, so lovely written here, which is actually a place in Moscow. It is actually a real place. So that's the top pick for pop and indie. And now we move along to the rock and metal category. And we're going to start with some EPs, as we always do. First up, we have Magnolia and the больше никогда не... And that's it. That's больше никогда не... What? We don't know. Больше никогда что. Doesn't matter. Anyway, shoegaze with an abrasive edge. On 2 tracks. We have a contemplative instrumental track to open, a closer that feels a bit more like the Postal Service, and there's lots of vocal samples from films throughout that give it a bit of a Midwest emo vibe, which we're going to be coming back to Midwest emo, so this, I suppose, is a warm-up for that. But it's an interesting mix of stuff. So I'm just going to jump right into it. For the poppier Postal Service-esque. I mean, not super close, but it's a stretch, I know. And that instrumental track, like the instrumental track made me think it's gonna be a whole EP of this type of stuff, which I would have been down for too.
Somewhere in the world, somebody sacrifices his life to save somebody else. Every fucking day, someone somewhere takes a conscious decision to destroy someone else.
But still, the fact that they've got so many different sounds going on this 4-track EP, right? Kind of abrasive shoegaze sound that I was talking about. It's definitely its own thing, and that's fine. I'm pretty sure, again, I don't keep all of this information locked away. I'm pretty sure this is the debut EP, so we'll see. We'll see what Magnolia does in the future. But yeah, this is the больше никогда EP by Magnolia. Up next, we have the final EP, and it is the self-titled EP by ZAKOPALI. Punkorama rears its head again in this section. So we have another Punkorama style group. A bit more of a hard rock metal sound here at times, especially on the title track. So ZAKOPALI by ZAKOPALI on their EP ZAKOPALI. But it's not just the pop punk formula, but that is definitely here at the core, and you'll hear that right off the bat. It's almost like a psychobilly.
У жизни пропадает, пусть примет тот факт. На остановке пассажиры мы, автобус катапалт. Не успеешь завершить, что начинал. Прошла минута, приближается финал. Заранее никто не скажет время, что
You know this sound. Or if you don't, then I guess if you've never heard this sound before, your 5th birthday, I'm sure is coming up soon. Very glad for you. The self-titled track. It's got a bit more of the heavier edge than I was talking about. But it's still pop punk at its core. So yeah, Punkorama. But hey, I love Punkorama. It's not the type of music I listen to 24 hours a day, every day. Maybe just regularly. But when it comes on my radar, if it's good, I'll listen to it. So yeah, that is ZAKOPALI with their self-titled EP. So I guess this is ZAKOPALI EP. It actually used to say ZAKOPALI here, but I guess they decided to change it to self-titled to make things a little less confusing. They even had to put the name of it in. So, but yeah, ZAKOPALI, that's it. Just ZAKOPALI, ZAKOPALI, ZAKOPALI. Which I don't think I'm mispronouncing, but God help me if I did. That would be really embarrassing. Moving on. We have Older Than Ancient by the group Elderwind. Yeah. More black metal coming out of the Ural Mountains, which the Ural Mountain, Yekaterinburg, has definitely gained a reputation for its dark scene. In fact, there's like the dark wave out of the Ural dark wave. Lots of hallmarks of the black metal sound here. Massive tracks. You can see they're all over 6 minutes long, aside from the intro, but that doesn't count. Lots of the tremolos and the growl, but it's kind of a bit of a different take on this formula because there's a lot of lighter sections where the vocals form what I would describe as a chorus of druge, or like oh, like that type of awing. Kind of, you can imagine just the hooded figures in the taiga, deep in the taiga, I don't know, calling forth wood sprites or whatever druids do. The guitars, a lot of times too, toe the line with power metal, or maybe the more classic heavy metal sound. And then this, in conjunction with some of the song structures, I would say it at times pushes into post-metal territory as well. So it's a black metal album, I think, for labeling purposes, but it's definitely doing a lot of different things. It's post-metal also. There's a little bit of power metal and folk metal, if you will. I'll be honest, if a group like this or other black metal groups who play music similar to this would release instrumental versions of their albums alongside the vocal ones, I think it would win more people over to the genre, right? If I were to play this without vocals, for most people, it might be a little intense, but I think most people would like jump on board with it. And if you could just be like, oh yeah, by the way, there's a vocal track, and you were to switch it out, then what I'm saying is it's very good music. And if you can get past the vocals, which you should, you know, or just accept them for what they are, then there's some really good metal going on here. And you can hear the ahs already. Let's jump ahead. And I know that's going to be enough for some people, but just trying to put that out for a second. Like, it opens up here. This is what I'm talking about. Like, kind of, it's not just black metal. Like piano or harp or something in the background as well. It still is black metal. Even the font they use for their name feels more power metal than black metal. Somewhere between the two. Kind of on the guitar. Background vocals. Listen. This isn't pure black metal. They're doing their own thing. And maybe even with the black metal vocals, this is enough. There's enough going on here that can pull a few more people into the genre. Not that black metal needs to be like the biggest genre ever. I'm just saying, like, it has its moments. Especially when it's not being super black metal. Maybe even a bit symphonic metal. Not really super symphonic, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Anyway, if you're looking for something a little bit heavier, but also not super slavish to genre titles, then Older Than Ancient by Elderwind is a very, very good black metal album that has enough other elements in there to keep this fresh. 7 tracks, and it's still like, I think 50-ish. No, it's not 50. It can't be 50 minutes long. It's a long play, all things considered, because they're all massive tracks. But it doesn't wear. There's enough going on here. The tracks feel like they're moving and shifting as they follow one after the other. And yeah, it's a really good metal album. So Older Than Ancient, Elderwind, once again. All right, now I gotta talk. First of all, out of the blue on last week, I got a message from Zlo, and if you don't remember, if you weren't here, if you haven't gone back and you don't know the lore, Zlo's album, Ovin, was my top pick of the first week. And for anyone watching, spoiler, I still think it's the best album of the first quarter of 2025. Anyway, they wrote me last week. They commented on that first live stream, and I was kind of like, oh, cool, that's awesome. So I was also in a funk too with music. I started out the week with some EPs and stuff, and everything was good. But when I started getting into the albums, just again, nothing was clicking. It's just like, God damn it, like what is going on? And I got that message from Zlo, and I remember thinking like, oh shit, like I gotta go back. I'll go back and listen to Ovin again, and just like I can go back and listen to that album anytime. And evidently, I know it's about 2 weeks late at this point. Evidently, as an April Fool's joke, I guess, because it was released on the 1st of April, if I remember correctly, they released a sped up version of Ovin. And honestly, I know this is supposed to be goofy and dumb, but I have to highlight this album once again. Even sped up, it still kicks ass. And it's actually kind of fun too, because now instead of it being, now it's a 15-minute listen instead of a 25-minute listen or whatever. So now you can actually listen to it faster, more efficiently. But yeah, I mean, like for anyone who's not familiar, go back and listen to the original one. But I'm going to just play a little bit off of this one because it's kind of dumb, but I love this album. Just faster. I mean, the original is definitely still better, but hey, if I this was all that was available, I would still listen to this. Also, I love it's labeled as progressive metal, which is so yeah, I whatever. I could listen to this album, like I said, every goddamn day, and I would still love it. Sped up version, speed up, I guess, technically what they have, but yeah, if they get the chance, go back and drop the E, guys. Still fantastic album, 4.5 months into the year. So moving on to actual new music, though, let's talk about Sreди bрошенных и разрушенных. Or sorry, разрушенных. I think it's okay. So okay, so there's this thing in Russian. There's like a whole letter that they just actively ignore, and it pisses me off to no end. Sometimes there are two little dots, the umlaut type thing over the E, and that changes it from a ye to a yo sound. And sometimes people put it, sometimes people don't put it. So the name of the group is LUMUROZE, is how I'm going to pronounce it, LUMUROZE. And I think the album is Среди брошенных и разрушенных. But it could be разрушен. No, it's разрушенных. I swear to God, Russian language, just put the fucking dots there, guys. It's on the keyboard. It's not the 18th century when you guys have to save ink or whatever. Just put the goddamn dots there. Before I get to the album, I want to point out the reason it's dumb too is there's actually a region of this city and streets in this city that have there's an embankment, Kadashovsky embankment, and people didn't know it was Kadashovsky. They thought it was Kadashevsky. I'm probably mispronouncing it right now too, but anyway, they were mispronouncing it for like their entire lives because the two dots had not been there. So Russian language, just get it together. It's not a big deal. This album, it's a marriage, it's a group from Arkhangelsk. It's a marriage of all the disparate sounds on a metalhead's iPod, shuffled together, put through the ringer, pressed into something new, wholly its own. There are symphonic metal, or symphonic black metal synths, blast beats, metalcore breakdowns, got the soaring vocals, punk barks, straight up singing at time. To use a modern classic of the internet in the comment sections, when asked what genre LUMUROZE wanted to play, the response was simply yes. Lead single, I'll be honest, Červa didn't really do much for me. Large part due to the vocals, which still do grate on me from time to time. I've enjoyed bands and songs that have worse vocals, but yeah, I know it's a minor quip, but it is still a quip, and I know the guy can't do anything, it's his voice, but play around a little bit, I guess is what I would say. But there's just so many metal sounds under the hood here. When you actually get into this thing, you're going to find something that clicks. It's basically impossible not to. The title here, Sreди, bрошенных и разрушенных, which is among the abandoned and the destroyed, could be taken, if you want to stretch it into a metaphor, as the group taking the discarded or worn out ideas from various genres to combine them into something new. I don't think that's what it is, but yeah. To quote one Vkontakte group, it's the sound of Ultar, Norma Jean, Architects Under Oath, and Silosis all in one package, though I probably would throw in some other influence as well, but it's not really worth. You can listen and get a feel for yourself. So let's just jump into it. See, we switched things up a little bit there. I know that those last two sounded probably quite a bit the same to some of you, but there's definitely other stuff going on. This is that symphonic black metal. Here we have the singing. Maybe Stone Sour-esque. Metalcore is probably the largest part of its DNA. There's no escaping it. It feels like there's a fair amount of, say, lunch as well. Got the gang vocals. Alright, last taste. So yeah, you get the idea. That is Sреди, брошенных и разрушенных by LUMUROZE. And that is going to be the last of the heavy stuff. We're still staying in rock, in metal, but we're going to let off the accelerator a little bit. Up next, penultimate here. We have the album Классная погода, and the group is Пекинский Велосипед. And honestly, it's perfect for this. The weather went from being literally around freezing and snowy last week, and today it was basically 60. So it definitely has been excellent weather, which is what Классная погода means. Now, I can't say, I've been going through my review of all the first quarter albums, kind of trying to put together an overview of the top picks here. But I can say with relative confidence that there hasn't yet been an emo, like a really strong emo album for the younger adults and those older ones who still remember the past well enough. But yeah, an emo album that was kind of for those looking back on their youth with a level of nostalgia, like a soundtrack for the indie film cut of your life that you've got in your head, right? That kind of music that sends you back down to a hyper-idealized version of your past. This debut album of Midwest emo out of Yekaterinburg is just that. It's got big energy, the weebly-weeblies, just a ton of those, punctuated by some slower, more wistful tracks. It's almost required of the genre, right? Let's be real. It's honestly fantastic album, especially with summer right around the corner. It's the perfect time to put this album on, get out there, go walk, go drive around, and recall the headier days of youth. So let's just jump into it.
Первоклассная погода, пешком до дома, я снова понял, что хочу. Мои заботы, бег от свободы, я понемногу научусь.
Some we believe we released there.
Этим летом не случилось ничего, чем я гордился бы. Время мчится, а мне нет дела до него, я не спешу. Мелочь в моих фотографиях на стене. Цепь огоньков, новых переписок. Кто там, подо мы? Те же темы, те же мемы, ничего.
We got slower tracks though. Наш Средний Запад бетонной стены. Perfect. Alright, I'm gonna bounce for a song, but I'm gonna put Ginger on real fast. I'll be right back.
Сколько раз мы возвращались по одной дороге, как так оказалось, что нам
this at this point in time. So yeah, we've had a lot of a lot of emo EPs throughout, well, the 3.5 months that I've been doing this. But I think this is really the first full-length album that actually feels like an actual, honest, solid, just straight up, I'm not going to say classic, but just it's got that really good emo sound, Midwest emo to be more specific for the most part. But good album, really good stuff. And like I said, it's the kind of thing that you want to put on when the weather gets nice and go out and walk around. Kind of relive the idealized version of your past that you have kicking around upstairs. But the album, Классная погода, the group Пекинский Велосипед. So, all right, and that brings us to the top pick of the week. And a little bit ago, I was talking about Zlo, that metal group, and Oven, and how like I could go back and listen to that album at any time, and how it's just like one of those things. And I'll be real, it's been some time, quite a while, in fact, maybe since that album. But yeah, realistically, since Ovin, I've listened to albums and albums and albums, and just nothing has hit and clicked. This is an album, when I put it on, within the first track, which is just an intro, I had like a tingle building in my spine, right? That burst out into full-fledged goosebumps. I can't really say why. On the surface, it's a sound kind of somewhere like emo pop, akin to Yellow Card or even Jimmy Eat World, lyrically, vocally. The guitars and overall atmosphere are something along the lines of Saturday Night Wrist by the Deftones. I have been paying attention to this group. The group is Ищейка. I've been following them for the last few years now. And Когда мы умираем, the 5th track, was actually a single they released last year, which I loved when I heard it last year. And their last album, I even have like hearted on Yandex, which I don't normally do. So it kind of says something. That said, I don't know what exactly it is about this album or this sound. On the surface, there's not any one thing here that stands out, but as a package, it just hit different. And again, this is just me talking. It very well might not do the same for you, but this was an album that I put it on and I just was like, floored isn't the right term. It wasn't like, but it grabbed me from the first minute. So I'm gonna jump in, play a few of the tracks, and maybe you'll see what I'm talking about. Maybe it's the haunting imagery, right? Like this weird dollish face faded away into this other, I don't know. But I'm just gonna play it and we'll get into it. So we have this slow build. And slow builds, let's be real, can be quite powerful, so maybe that's part of it. That wave just breaks over you. I gotta make it louder, sorry. Tingles again. Holy shit, this is good. And then let's just go right to the first track.
как бывает, опустились мои руки. Я не вернусь сегодня, только не
I probably should have mentioned the album title is Не вернусь. This is the title track.
строить планы. Здесь родились мои мечты.
This is the Jimmy Eat world that I was talking about earlier.
Сгорай, сгорай, мои руки не спускаются ниже. Я ведь тебя совсем еще не знаю. Мы летали, летали, не видя края. Прошу, сбавь обороты, с тебя уже все так легко слетает. Все на местах, вокруг все на местах. Закрываем глаза, выключаем свет. Не смотри на меня, не смотри на меня, не смотри на меня. Не смотри на меня, не смотри на меня.
The tracks just build really well.
Не смотри на меня,
Right? They start out kind
не
of
смотри на меня.
the wave just crashes over them every single time. I love the booms. Let's keep moving along. This is more of that Saturday Night Wrist, Deftones style.
Нежная гладь переходит в печаль. Знаешь меня, будешь
Crash.
будешь влюбляться в меня. Нежная гладь переходит в печаль. Знаешь меня, поверишь мой взгляд. Тонешь, воешь, страшно.
It just vibes. It vibes so hard, and it just, and I can't leave here without hitting the song that was already out last year, which I don't know if they just released as a single and then decided to put it on the album, but regardless, goddamn, I love this song. Когда мы умираем. This is actually the song that I guess keyed me into them. So maybe I haven't been following for the last 2 years. It's just about a year ago, and I had to go back to their catalog.
Когда мы умираем, свои глаза не отводи от меня. Я выдыхаю, последний раз хочу увидеть тебя. Когда я сам не знаю, давай не будем думать. Слишком рано, теперь мы будем рядом. Держись меня, пока мы умираем. Когда мы умираем, свои глаза не отводи от меня. Я выдыхаю, последний раз хочу увидеть тебя. Когда я сам не знаю, давай не будем думать. Слишком рано, теперь мы будем рядом. Держись меня, пока мы умираем. Когда мы умираем. Когда мы умираем. Когда мы умираем. Когда мы умираем. Сделай круг, еще хоть раз для меня.
So, yeah, the album, as I said, is Не вернусь. The group is Ищейка. this has all of the trappings, in my opinion, of something which realistically should, on some level, become something of a Russian classic, at least in certain circles. Obviously, in 2025, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. It's very hard for there to be some monolithic album. I know sometimes in the States it's possible with, you know, artists who, the Taylor Swifts or the Kendrick Lamars. But here in Russia, I would say it's just not super common. And so you have, honestly, kind of like it is in the States, among different communities, different music communities, there are albums which kind of stick out, whether that be hip hop or metal or whatever. And I feel like this album by Ищейка, Вернусь, has the makings of like a modern classic in the rock community, in the emo community, whatever community it happens to be. But it's it's a great album. The tracks, there's just like this, they build, they crash, they just kind of sweep you away. So that's my top pick of the week. Не вернусь by Ищейка. Just really good album. And the top of the week. So I am going to do the thing where I transition over if I'm an idiot and I don't. Okay, I've been in like the off to the side this whole time. What am I doing over there, doofus? Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes when I'm going through and listening to music for this, it always, not always, but it will sometimes feel as though I just haven't had anything good to listen to, that there hasn't been. But then sometimes when I'm coming back and doing this, it's almost as though I realize that there's actually been a lot more good stuff than I recognized at the time. It might just be too where when I sit down to listen to an album, if I start listening to a song and it doesn't click within the first minute or so, I'll click over to another track, and if that's not hitting, then I just switch to another album. Because, you know, sometimes you're not in the mood for specific music, or sometimes just mentally not in a state to take in a specific sound. And I don't know what it was, but there were a few days, Sunday maybe into Monday even, when I had a few albums already put together, and I just felt like, God damn, there's nothing this week. And last week kind of felt underwhelming, but I suppose, yeah, there were some really good albums this week. Макаров, Hostel by Диктофон, Не вернусь by Ищейка. LUMUROZE had a really good album. Pekинский Велосипед had a really good one. I'm probably forgetting some other stuff. Pompeya, the awesome EP, is really fun. Basic Boy. Yeah, there were some really good releases this week. And it'll be interesting to see. I have a running theory that the next few months we'll see metal shift to the back burner. We'll probably see some more rock releases like Ищейка here. But I kind of think that metal will go into hibernation in the warmer, sunnier time of the year, when people typically want music that's a little bit more party oriented. Not to say that metalheads don't party, but I mean, it's a different atmosphere, I suppose. So yeah, right. I on Sunday I did my news stream, and I know some of you watching this also watched the news stream. And on Sunday, I mentioned the plans I have of splitting the news stream into twice a week on Sundays and Wednesdays, and then moving the music stream to Thursdays. I am going to do that, but I've decided I'm going to wait until the end of the month. Partly because the month ends on a Wednesday, which is fortuitous. It means that I'll be able to talk about all of the April albums on the end of April, basically. And then also the 1st of May is the start of the May holidays here. And I don't know exactly what the May holidays are going to be like musically. They could be really packed or they could be really slow. But I just know in general, because it's 2 sets of 4-day weekends, things are going to be all over the place. So I'm gonna put that off until the end of the month. So for the next, what would that be? The next 2 weeks, I will be here on Wednesday doing the music as always, and I will be doing the news once a week on Sunday for the next 2 weeks as well. So we've got 2 more weeks of schedule as normal, and then when May hits, I will post a reminder for everyone. But that's kind of it. Yeah, I mean, kind of, it could repeat the same thing of I've got videos that I'm working on, but it's kind of dumb because it doesn't mean anything until I actually get it put out. So I'm working on it. It's coming. The music ones are getting closer. I'm gonna have it by the end of the month. So a month into the second quarter isn't horrible, but there was a lot of music. I like for the first quarter, even when I trimmed down to just the top picks across genres for the first 3 months, I think total I probably had about 40 to 48 hours worth of music. So some of it I was able to weed out pretty quickly, but some of it not so much. And oh god, I still just don't. I hate editing, but we'll get around to it. Yeah. Anyway, gonna wrap things up. Gonna call it an evening, and probably I haven't updated any of the singles playlists on Spotify for some time. Maybe 1 or 2 tracks each in the last week or so. So maybe this evening I'll just listen to some singles to act as a musical palette cleanser. Could be useful. Anyway, I will be here at 9 p.m. Moscow time on Sunday to do the news review for the week. If that's not your thing, then I will be here at 9 p.m. next Wednesday to do another roundup of the what do you call it? The music, the stuff that we've been listening to for the last, I don't know, how long has it been? Hour and a half, give or take. But if you're, this afternoon for you, if it's have a good day. If it's the evening, have a good evening. If you're watching this in the future, have a good whatever time of the day it is for you. I will, like I said, be streaming on Sunday and Wednesday as normal. Until then, you all take care of yourselves, and I will see you when I see you. So I'm going to try to figure out how I can stop the recording here so that it doesn't get all just like awkwardly cut off. But пока-пока.